All right, welcome, folks. Spec Ops Monkey. This is going to be a Monkey Minute for Thursday. I know this is out of sequence, but I'm going to try and do these a little more. I keep saying that, and then something comes up, and I just run out of time. But it's important. There's a lot of things going on biblically around the world that they're not talking about, and we need to keep a tight eye on it because it's going to impact all of us. It's not good, that is for sure. And so, anyway, it is 4/21/22, and this Monkey Minute is going to be short and sweet. I just want to walk across about 6 different headlines that we all need to be focusing on, okay? So without further ado, let's hop over here. And remember, I'm telling you stuff to prepare you, not to scare you. It is faith over fear, and you guys just remember that. Now is the time to start making preparations. If you have not done so, this is not going to get any better. Matter of fact, as the weeks go on, the availability of product out there is going to start to get squeezed, and the prices are going to go up. So if you're holding off and you're thinking, oh, we'll ride this thing out, this is going to be a long-term deal, and I'll show you why here as I start to cover the things and issues that are going on around the world, okay? All right, so first up, let's talk a little bit about peace in Middle East. As you can see, again, same thing happened last year around Ramadan. We've got a lot of activity going on up on the Golden Dome, which is the Dome of the Rock. You guys know this in Israel. It's on the Temple Mount. It's a 35-acre compound that is basically El Occupado by Islam with their mosque, okay? And so more than 300 Palestinians have been arrested and 170 wounded as Israeli forces actually have launched an incursion similar to what happened last year. Around the same time, you may remember there was a big fire up there on the Temple Mount, but things got a little bit crazy. Again, this is a very holy site to Christianity. It's not so much from Islam's standpoint, as they have said so in the past, that they need to focus on their other locations and that this place is really not that important to them. But then you see this going on, and it's important to somebody, isn't it? So anyway, remember, as long as that dome is up there on top of that Temple Mount, there is no third temple for the Jews, and that is part of prophecy, right? And so Daniel 9:25-27 talks about that third temple, and even Revelations talks about the courtyard and the Gentiles. So that's something we're keeping our eye on, third temple news, but I just want to point out what was going on there, okay? Now, here we go again. We got another ISIS leader, I guess, or AKA target. Since the last guy was taken out in Syria, this guy has now decided to post a video and make himself another prime target. And so now he is calling for a global offensive while the West is distracted by the Ukrainian war. Just what we need is a mix-up of terrorism in the middle of food shortages and war. Should make for a very interesting dynamic, especially here in the United States and abroad, really, Europe for that matter too. So stay frosty for sure, because these guys are going to get stupid, and you know it's going to be right in the middle of everything else. So, all right, now let's get over here to the UK, where energy execs are now saying they are expecting a food poverty that is going to crush households into debt. They're expecting a 50% increase on the credit that's going through right now for people to pay this stuff, and they said they're not prepared to handle that large of load in terms of credits and credit card debt, because people are using that to pay for their energy bills. Very bad situation and scenario. You may remember that in Europe and UK, they were already seeing a 455% increase in natural gas costs pre-war. Now the war is going on, the number's going up exponentially, and people are basically can't afford to keep the power on in their houses because of the increased energy costs. So this is only going to get worse, because we're about to see $185 a gallon oil, which is going to just drive this up even higher. And that's also at the pumps. Okay. All right. Now, one more pay attention to: global rice production set to plunge 10%, threatening half of humanity. What does that equate to, according to this article? And we're talking about farmers in China, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Vietnam, the largest rice-producing countries in the world. And they can't get fertilizer, and that's the reason for this. That equates to 36 million tons of rice, enough food to feed 500 million people. Okay. And so, eyes on that. But again, this is just a continued scenario. We've been talking about crop failures. We've been talking about the prices going up so high that farmers can't afford to fertilize their crops, feed their cattle and things of that nature because they can't get grains due to railroad shortages and staffing limits, right? Grain and fertilizer here in the U.S. That's going to impact our cattle and our chickens and everything else, stuff that we use to feed us. So, but you can see the trend. Again, here's another one. 1/3 of the Ukraine farmland may go unplanted as Russia begins second phase of war. They're saying that it actually, their estimate is approximately 33% of crops in agricultural land in that region are going to go unused, unstarted, anything, because they can't get diesel, they can't get seeds, they can't get fertilizer. They are, just as a note, Ukraine is the world's second biggest shipper of grains and the biggest exporter of sunflower oil, and that's the world. So not good. They are saying this is actually going to have a pretty big impact on the UK and Europe in general, as well as the US. So it does all tie into it. But these guys, this is a breadbasket for Europe, and the fact that you're cutting out food from mouths and future feeding availability is just is a compounding the issue that we have already going on around the world. And so, okay, now let's get over here real fast. This is actually going to be on the watcher side. I just want to point out we've got heavy rains triggering deadly landslides, leaving 250,000 people without drinking water in Ecuador. You can see the picture of the landslide there. Evidently, it's blocking a water source, and people cannot get drinking water, which is no bueno. All right. And so water is something that you can go without food for a little while. Water, not so much. Okay. And so that is something that is a bad situation. We'll have to keep our eye on it. But again, just ties in with all the other craziness around the world. Okay. Now, speaking of craziness, I've talked about this several times in my sit reps. We're going to continue to keep our eye on it because this situation here is getting worse by the day. It's getting worse for the world by the day because this is product that's not moving. This is product that hasn't been manufactured because manufacturing production is shut off in China. And so these ships, what you see on the screen, are boats that are sitting idle. Okay. They're not coming in because nothing's being produced and everything's shut down. We're going on week 3 of this. You can see Shanghai is the #1 biggest seaport in the world, right? And so it's on lockdown. It's nothing is moving. That means nothing's going and nothing's coming out of Shanghai other than limited stuff by air, based probably on product that's already produced, and they're grabbing it up everything they can right now. So as long as this is going, week 3, just to give you a general idea, as you look at the boats that are sitting out here, that's thousands and thousands of boats, folks. Most of those cargo containers, the red ones are oil tankers, and these other ones are just they're passenger, they may be whatever. Green and the reds are the big ones we want to focus on, but this is not good for the world for that matter, okay? Now, remember that during the previous lockdown, which was only 14 days, the GDP in China actually plummeted down to 2.2%, which is really bad in terms of them, their economy, okay? But they said Q1 results just came out. They're at 4.8%, which was weak, and that was before the lockdown, which is now extended to 3 weeks, which is longer than the one of the pandemic. So this is probably going to see numbers for Q2 and maybe even beyond that are down in the 1 to 2 percentile, which is really bad. That's going to put them and their economy in a complete tailspin. And so wouldn't be surprised to see it collapse after this because it's really hard to get things going again when you've shut things down for so long. So anyway, listen, I know this all sounds bad. Again, faith over fear. I don't tell you these things to scare you, but to prepare you. We see all the trends. We see all of the news sources telling us around the world that the crop failures, so food shortages and things of that nature. And then we see the stuff going on in China. It's just a matter of time, and it's coming right here to America because we're probably a couple months out from seeing this all start to transition. The stuff from China is going to happen before the food shortages hit, but it's all perfect timing for the election coming up in about 6 months. So, listen, that's it. You guys stay frosty out there. Keep that powder dry. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeywerxus.com.